StrayAllDay.com.
You are now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that's called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is you are being watched. Two things to remind you of quickly. First of all, my daily motivation, Monday motivation messages, guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. Text me at my number 305-384-6894. Once we start sending those messages again, you'll be getting those straight to your phone. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is the place where I do all of my coaching. If you'd like to have me as your direct coach, all you got to do is go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. This is where we are working with high-level performers, top 2% people who are willing to do things that most other people are not willing to do. You're willing to deal with the pressure and the stress that comes with pushing yourself to be the best version of yourself, and you want to squeeze all the potential out of yourself. If that sounds like you, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is down below in the description of this episode. So again, that's workonyourgameuniversity.com. And let me just check one thing here. Okay. With that out the way, let's get into the topic here today, which is you are being watched. Now, this episode is not about, I don't mean, when I say you're being watched, I don't mean like the government is spying on you or camera surveillance in your town, even though those things could be happening. Depending on who you are, the government might be spying on you, and there are definitely cameras watching your every move when you go out in public. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm referring to here is about performing under scrutiny as if you are being watched, observed, and judged the entire time that you are doing what you're doing. So what I'm saying here is putting yourself in the mentality that you are being watched, even if you're not actually being watched, even though, as I just said, you might actually be being watched and you don't even realize that you're being watched. So that's what this is about. So whether you're in the gym, whether you're at home, you're in your office, and even if there are no other human beings around, and what I want you to think about is what your performance looks like if someone who is not you is watching you. In other words, picture yourself watching yourself doing the things that you do over the course of a day, and then consider the points that I'm going to share here today. And if you are basically living up to what you think you are and who you think you are and doing the things that you say that you're going to do. When I first started putting content online, which was almost 20 years ago, it was basketball related material. And the reason that I started doing it was because of basically this concept that I'm sharing with you here today. I wanted to know if how I looked while I was on the court playing was actually how I was envisioning it in my mind. I envisioned in my mind that I looked a certain way when I shot the ball or went up for a slam dunk or the way I was moving around the court, but I wasn't sure because in the era that I come from, any of you who's older than 25, you know, this era, there was not, cameras were not ubiquitous. Video cameras, I say, were not as ubiquitous as they are now, whereas literally everybody has a video camera in your pocket. In that era, that was not the case. You had to have an actual video camera, which was separate from the phones that we did have at that time. And most of the stuff that we were doing was not on camera, which could be a good thing for some of us. But at the same time, when it came to something like seeing myself perform, I didn't have a video camera, and now digital cameras at that time were starting to become a normal thing. The prices were coming down to where you get a video camera for $100. So then when I finally got a video camera, I started bringing it with me, a digital camera, started bringing it with me to the gym and just recorded myself. And I was really looking at it because I wanted to see me. Do I look how I think I looked? And then I took some of that footage and just for fun put it on YouTube because I wanted the footage to last, because who knows where I was going to keep that footage. And then people started finding it. And that's really basically what started my career as being an online content producer. So getting into the topic here today, which is you are being watched. Again, this is all about performing as if you are being observed by someone who is going to make a judgment about you and make some decisions about you, some inferences about you just based on what they see. Point number one, how would you feel about you if you watched a video of your own daily performance? How would you feel about you if you watched a video? You had to watch back the footage of your performance over the course of a day. Would you be proud of yourself? Would you be happy about what you did? Would you say, damn, that was good, I need to do that every day? Or would you say, damn, that sucked? No wonder that I'm not getting to where I want to get to if that's the way I'm performing on a daily basis. Only you know every single detail of everything you're doing every day. Now, somebody might be around you and spending some amount of time with you. Maybe you got a secretary or an admin at your office. Maybe you work amongst 20 other people. Only you really know every detail, though. Only you know when you're wasting time. Even if you work in an office building at a corporation with a manager walking around, you can still find ways to sneak and waste time if you want to. Only you know the details. So many of the things that you do over the course of a day, you might even forget that you did them yourself. But you did see them. Again, subconsciously, you saw them, whether you remember them or not. And your subconscious mind remembers everything that you have been through. So if you are watching a video of your past 24 hours, as far as performance, how would you feel? What would be your assessment of yourself? Did you look the way that you think you look, or the way that you tell people that you look? Are you living up to the standards that you have set for yourself, if you indeed have standards set for yourself? Would you feel like this day has gotten you closer to your long-term goals, or did it get you further away from your long-term goals? And it can get you further away, even if you're just going through the motions, because you are one day older, which means one day closer to death, which means one day closer to not having time to get to your long-term goals. So did this day get you closer, or did it get you further away? Are you living up to your standards? Are you living the way that you are presenting yourself to people who don't see you on a daily basis? Are you living the way that you talk to other people and exhort other people to live themselves? In other words, you're telling people that they shouldn't waste time and they got to get to their work and they got to do the important things now and be really disciplined and focused on their work. Are you doing all the things that you tell other people to do? You know the answers to these questions. One of the reasons that as athletes, for example, we tend to film even when I was playing, we filmed all the games, even though the games would be on these things called VHS tapes, which means there was only one copy. And if something happened to that one copy, then that game pretty much got erased from the recorded history. But we did have the intention of actually filming the game. So these days, as athletes, any of you who plays a sport, doesn't even matter what sport, every single game is filmed by maybe a bunch of people. A bunch of people got phones they can just pull out and film the whole game if they want to. I hear that in sports now, teams even film practice. This is the thing, right? That teams even record every single minute of practice, not only the games, but practice. That would have been useful for us when we were playing. And many of you film a lot of your training sessions, right? So these days we can look back at what we did in every single minute of what we're doing as athletes, and we can assess our own performances. And we tend to get better when we can look at what the camera is seeing rather than just going off of what our minds are telling us happened. As I said, the reason I started making basketball content back in the day was because my mind was telling me I looked one way on the court, but I wanted to confirm. Let me see, do I actually look like that? Let me see what I look like when I'm on the court playing. Does this match the picture that I have in my own head? And we tend to, especially those of you who have a healthy amount of confidence, we tend to see ourselves in our own minds as maybe a little bit better than we actually are. So we need to verify by actually seeing it ourselves. And in sports, this is a great thing. And I remember I was talking to a basketball shooting coach years ago. I did a collaboration video with these guys. And one of the things that the coach said was, one thing that never lies is the video. Or as some coaches like to say, the eye in the sky doesn't lie. Eye in the sky being the camera lens, which is recording every single thing that you're doing. So a player can come into the coach's office and say, hey, I didn't make any mistakes in the game. And the coach says, okay, well, let's cue up the film and let's see if you made any mistakes. See, that camera lens doesn't tell any lies. Humans tell lies. Men lie, women lie. Cameras do not lie. So we want to be able to look at what we're doing so we can see what's actually happening. We can't bullshit ourselves. So we don't want to go off what our minds are telling us. We can like what our minds tell us, especially if it's building you up and building up your confidence. But at the same time, let's verify by seeing what's actually true, reality-wise true. Our minds tend to distort things. Each one of us individually, our minds tend to distort things in the direction in which we are leaning. So whichever way your mind is programmed, you're programmed to feel good about yourself. Your mind will make things seem like you did better than you actually did, maybe. And if you tend to not have confidence, your mind may tell you that you are worse than you actually are. And there are people who fit into both sides of that description. So sometimes we think our good performances are better than they were, or that our bad performances were worse than they were. This is why external observation is very useful. So a camera is a good tool for this. And also an objective human can be a good tool for this as well. So if you have someone around you who has the license to objectively note what you're doing and then tell you about yourself in a way that you will be disciplined enough to listen, that person is useful as well. Ideal, you can have both. A trainer or a coach is a good example of this, or just a friend, somebody who you trust enough, again, who can tell you the truth to your face and you will actually listen. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is you are being watched. Number 2, people are making snap decisions about you and your value just by your mere presence and how you conduct yourself. People are making snap decisions, meaning they get a quick impression and they just move on. They make a decision about who you are, what you're about, and your value just by your presence and how you conduct yourself. They don't have to know you. They don't know anything about you and don't care to know anything about you because they are focused on themselves. But they're making a judgment about you based on however you are presenting you. Note that I didn't say they're going to do a deep dive assessment of who you truly are and what you're truly about, because again, most people don't give those type of resources to any other human being. Most people come across, they do not do a deep dive on them. Just like you don't do a deep dive on most of the people you deal with because there are too many people out there. 8 billion people on the planet. You don't have the time to do a deep dive on every human. So you have to make snap judgments about everyone you come across, and those snap judgments on a lizard brain level, so to speak, determine whether or not you live or die. Because if you make a wrong snap judgment about someone who could be dangerous to you, then you might lose your life. Now, that doesn't tend to be our everyday moment by moment situation, but that's where this wiring comes from. This wiring comes from the fact that way back in the caveman days, before you or I were around, if a caveman made the wrong decision about some berries that they ate off of a plant, or another caveman coming around, whether that caveman was friendly or adversarial, you could lose your life with a wrong snap judgment. So our snap judgments have become very sharp, and we do them automatically without thinking because we have to. Again, it goes back to our evolutionary survival. And again, even though these days you're probably not in that type of survival mode, we still do the same thing. So people don't have the resources to go and find out the real truth about you, so they just decide based on what you show them. So people do the same thing that you do, same thing that I do. We make snap judgments about people based on surface traits that we can see, hear, and feel. That's it. Whatever we can see about you, that's what this person is. So your presence is telling people a lot of what they will ultimately conclude about you, whether it is accurate or not. Let me repeat that sentence. Your presence is telling people a lot of what they will ultimately conclude about you, whether it is accurate or not. So the way that you're showing up and presenting yourself matters a lot. As the saying goes, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So remember that human beings are mostly focused on themselves and in their own world mentally. So they will take whatever impression of you that they get and they will assume that that's all they need to know. So make sure that whatever impression people get of you is what you want them to get. The good news about all of this is the only impression anybody can get of you is based on things that you choose to show them. So again, people aren't deep diving into your life. They're only going off what they can see. And the only thing they can see is what you show. So you determine a whole lot of this. You actually, not a whole lot, all of it, 100% of it. I'll say 99%. The only other 1% is that whatever paradigms the other person shows up with. So that person has some type of negative judgment about white men who wear jeans and you're a white guy in jeans, then that 1% may infect the way that they judge you a little bit. But the other 99% is based on you. I mean, you're the one who chose to wear the jeans, right? So remember that your personal brand starts with what you say about you, not with what other people say about you. It ends with what they say about you, but it starts with what you say about you. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is performing as if you are being watched. Number 3, your subconscious mind knows everything you think and knows every action that you take. So the question here is, are you telling yourself the truth, or are you a habitual self-liar? Are you deceiving yourself and lying to yourself on a consistent basis? Again, your subconscious mind knows if you lie to yourself and say, hey, today I'm going to get my email inbox from 100 unread emails down to under 50. And then the day ends and you still have 80 unread emails. The subconscious mind knows that you told yourself that lie. Now, nobody else in the world knows about it because it was only a thought. You didn't even say it out loud. You just said it in your own head. But your subconscious mind knows you just lied to yourself. If you tell yourself, I'm going to work out 5 days a week, and here we are halfway into the year, and you've been working out twice a week, your subconscious mind knows that you told yourself that lie. Even if no other human being knows about it, you know about it. So the question is, are you telling yourself the truth, or are you lying to yourself? Everyone listening to this knows the answer to this question regarding everything you ever thought, everything you ever said to you. So if you tell yourself you're going to do 100 push-ups, you only do 50. All right, it's cool that you did 50, but your subconscious mind knows you said 100. See, every time you tell yourself a lie that you don't deliver on, your subconscious mind is taking note of this. All right, it has a full record of every single thing you have ever done, said, or thought. It knows all of it. And it leads to you, when you lie to yourself, it leads to you trusting yourself less because what you just did was program, you just, not program, but you just gave your subconscious mind an entry that says, when I tell myself I'm going to do something, I'm not actually, it doesn't actually mean I'm going to do it. You just told your subconscious mind that's okay. And what does that lead to? It leads to a lack of confidence because confidence is just belief in your ability to do something. So if you tell yourself you're going to do something and don't do it, then what do? You just hurt your level of belief. Why would I believe you're going to do something if you just said you would do it and you didn't do it? Like, would you trust that person? Would you trust the person who told you they're going to do something and they didn't do it? Would you have the same level of confidence in them the next time that you had in them the last time? Probably not. You lose a little bit of confidence in that person because they just told you one thing and did another thing. Okay, you're the person. Okay, so when I say your subconscious mind, that's you and you. All right, that's you talking to yourself. So you have to be very careful with the lies that you tell yourself or the things you tell yourself you're going to do and then you don't do them because it lowers your level of self confidence. It goes in the record as a lie that you told. And this lowers your level of discipline because, I mean, you just simply didn't do what you said you were going to do. That's a lack of discipline. And it leads to you respecting yourself less. Because again, your words and your actions are incongruent. And this is also known as being out of integrity. Integrity means there's a congruence between your thoughts, your words, your actions, and your outcomes. That's what integrity. That's what integrity means. You think something, you say something, you take action around that thing, and you produce the outcome around it. That's what integrity is all about. When one of these is off, thoughts, words, actions, outcomes, your subconscious mind understands this, and again, it lowers your confidence rather. It's not doing it on purpose in a way like to self-sabotage, but I mean, this is your behavior that the subconscious mind is making a note of. Subconscious mind works off of certain formulas. So it's not like you can make it ignore the fact that you lie. It's kind of like if you have a coworker at work and you do something you're not supposed to do on the job is against company policy, but your coworker saw it, but your coworker is cool with you, so they don't tell anybody that you broke the rule. That's not the same as the subconscious mind. Subconscious mind can't work that way. Subconscious mind works off of certain formulas, which is if you say you're going to do something, you don't do it. Subconscious mind has to take note of it. It cannot ignore the fact that you said what you said. Okay, so it's an honest dealer. So when your integrity is off, the subconscious mind has to notice it. So if you ever thought that telling yourself a little lie or letting yourself off the hook for something you said you would do, if you ever thought that that was okay because nobody knows about it, quote unquote, nobody, and it's possible because only you did it with yourself, that's actually not true. All right, this can have a deeper or stronger effect on some people than it has on others, depending on how in touch you are with your own self-consciousness. There are people who could be so detached from this that it doesn't matter at all. I think they call these people, psychopaths. I think most of you are not psychopaths. So the effect can be different depending on the person, but it has an effect period on everybody. Ideally, you don't have too many of these conflicts. Hopefully you have none. That's like in a perfect world, you have none. All of us have some, but you want to reduce these and have as few as possible so it doesn't become a problem for you. Do everything you tell yourself you're going to do, whether anybody else knows about it or not. That is the ultimate level of integrity. That's really where you want to be. All that said, let's recap today's class, which is perform as if you are being watched. This episode is about performing under scrutiny as if you are being observed, judged the entire time by, again, anyone else out there outside of yourself, but you are always being observed by yourself. So this is point number one. How would you feel about you if you watched the video of your own daily performance? Would you be proud of it? Would you want to throw that film away? Would you want to make sure nobody else sees it? Do you look how you say that you look? Or do you look how you think you look? And are you doing all the stuff you said you would do? Point number two. People make snap decisions about you and your value just by your mere presence and how you conduct yourself. Again, they're not doing a deep dive assessment of you. So the way that you show up every day is the way people are judging you and observing you and making inferences about you without ever speaking to you or knowing anything about you. Again, same thing you do to other people, they're doing it to you, which means the way you show up matters a lot, which leads to point number three. The subconscious mind knows everything you think and every action that you take. So when you tell yourself a lie, the subconscious mind knows this and it lowers your confidence level just a little bit every single time you lie to yourself. So if you lie to yourself all day, every day, it makes perfect sense that you have no confidence. And if you tell yourself that you're going to do something and you do it every single time, it makes sense that you have a super high level of confidence. So this is how you can see the conflict between the way some people look at themselves and the way other people look at themselves because of what is going on in the conversation we're having between our conscious and our subconscious, between our actions and our words, our thoughts and our outcomes. This is known as being in integrity. When you are out of integrity, there's a lack of congruence there, and it hurts your confidence. When you are in integrity, there's a tight congruence there, and that leads to much higher levels of confidence. So when you want to know why some people have certain levels of confidence and other people have much different levels, this is one of the main reasons. I may do a whole episode on this subject alone. We'll see. All that said, text me, see you in my community. My number's down below in the description. Also, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Look for the top 2% performers. Our 4 pillars are mindset, strategy, systems, and accountability. You want to maximize on your potential for yourself, your team, your organization. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all